Hi, Andy Nelson. I often get asked, when? When do I apply for a federal trademark registration? Now, the easy answer is, for me, is as soon as possible, but we need to unpack that a little bit. Here's why. The federal registration may not be right for some people, right? If you've got a local business, you got a cleaner or a local restaurant, you don't have any real intention on expanding, you don't service anybody outside your own state or county even, it's probably not a whole lot of value or reason to obtain a federal registration. In fact, you might not even be eligible for it if you don't engage in what we call interstate commerce. Pretty low threshold, but still, it's there. But otherwise, if you are an e-commerce business, if you are any other sort of business that you offer services across state lines, you have customers that are across state lines, you intend to grow, you really want to think about obtaining that federal registration as early as possible. The reason being is the earliest user has senior rights in the US, but when you don't have a registration, it's kind of there's a geographic limit on it, kind of where you're operating and kind of the natural zone of expansion. So if someone's using something very similar to what you're doing, maybe in the same industry, and they're scattered all across the US, you might have growth problems later because you have all these other folks that you have priority over in your area, but not outside that area. So you may be hard pressed to stop them. If you have a federal registration, or at least an application on file where you get a priority date set, you're gonna have a clear path because as others pop up, you're at least gonna have higher ground to demand that they cease what they're doing and that they go a different direction. That can be very helpful, but it's all dependent on how soon you get to it. Let's look at another scenario. You haven't started doing business yet. We know in the US you cannot get any trademark rights until you actually use your trademark. But in the US, you can file on basically what we call, or it's a reservation system, intent to use. I don't know what, I'm not using this yet, develop my plans, but I'm gonna use this mark and this mark and this mark in connection with these goods and services, and I wanna get a priority date right now so I can feel comfortable, have peace of mind that someone's not gonna snake me in the meantime while I'm developing my plans, but I haven't used my mark yet. You can reserve it in the US. That, of course, the early bird is critical because in that case, you have a priority date set, others pop up later, you're going to be good to go. But if you develop your plans but don't, you're like, no one's going to do this, I'm just going to develop my plans, get all my branding done, et cetera, and somebody does pop up, and mind you, it doesn't have to be the exact same thing. It's anything that might cause confusion or is likely to lead to confusion. That is a much bigger world. And this happens. If someone files before you haven't done anything yet, they're going to be able to block you and you're going to be in trouble. You're going to go to plan B most likely anyway. So, obviously it's a function of budget. It's a function of whether you've settled on your brand imagery. Sometimes you're tweaking it, that sort of thing. So it's hard to apply for something. And then if you change, you got to start over again. So that's no good either. But if you've got real concrete plans to have an interstate or international business, if you're already using your mark, or even if you're not, but you have plans, like I said, your marks are settled, you know what you want to do and you've got big plans, the earlier you do it, the better and the safer you're going to feel. I have seen somebody operate for almost 3 decades without a registration. They were fine. However, they went to go register their mark, finally, a change of ownership. Finally did it after 27 years, and 2 months before they applied, somebody else applied for their mark. Now, this fella had rights that were senior all over the US because they'd been using and selling everywhere. So we were able to knock out that other trademark registration, which came way later, but it cost a lot more money because it was a different kind of proceeding. We had to actually have them canceled. If we would have applied, if they would have applied anywhere in those prior 27 years, wouldn't have had an issue, it would have been way cheaper. So there's a lot of benefit, a lot to be said for applying early, but you don't want to do it willy-nilly. You want to make sure that your marks are set. They're not still in kind of experimental mode where you're moving and changing them. You want to do that. And then you want to make sure that you really have your growth, your goals set in mind. Yes, I'm going to be an interstate business, or I am an interstate business, and I'm only going to get bigger. Those are great reasons to file early. Anyway, there's more to it for certainly, and there's other considerations, but those are a couple of the key ones. If you have questions about this video, drop a comment, shoot me a note, and if someone would benefit from this video, please feel free to share it.